Good afternoon. Welcome to Tuesday with Teri. Today, we are going to cover a very asked question about how do you actually receive healing, function to bring healing to the body using tuning forks and a hockey puck. How is that possible? So today is going to be short and sweet. We're going to get right into it, and I am going to share with you what I have discovered personally, what I have learned through people who have done way more scientific research than I could ever have begun to. So welcome. It's been a long time since I've actually been live. It's been a few weeks. Stick around. Stick around on the channel, but I am definitely going to be changing some things up. You know, you have to play the game with the YouTube algorithm. So I think I'm going to be mixing up going live as often as I am and just upload some great topics that you guys have been requesting. So if you want to know something, I know when I was first learning, and I have a video on how I got started on using tuning forks in my life coaching practice. It all came to me through a dream, and lo and behold, he got it already downloaded it to a lot of other people. A lot of amazing scientific explorers had discovered the ability for sound to heal the body. So you can watch those videos, but we're not going to really get into that today. But using frequency in my life coaching practice has been one of the most accelerating things that I have grabbed a hold of to help people get free from the past. So like I've said before, you know, a lot of people are aware of therapeutic modalities, other ways to do and get in touch with that little version of yourself, go thinking things that past. I mean, the bottom line is we're all trying to escape the past, but you have to go back there, say goodbye to it in order for it to actually become something that's productive for you instead of negatively drawing against your energy. Tuning forks are a fantastic way to know how to do that. So just stick with me. I am going to share with you some basics. Here's my number one tip is Eileen Mckusick is somebody that when I had my dream and had no idea what I was doing and how I didn't even know how to make a tuning fork activate. Background, a Christian foundation and belief. So that is what I'm pursuing. God saying in the midst of all this. So like always in my descriptions, I will let you know who I think is tracking Christian wise and who just has great information. And so you always want to be mindful of that. You don't want to be loosey-goosey and just follow everybody who has a possible spiritual different background. But a lot of what Eileen presents is very factual, based on scientific research and understanding the body and quantum physics. And so she is a great, great resource. The other thing is understanding, and I did a video on this, understanding our human biofield. This is the aura that surrounds us. Again, I'm not going to take the time in this video to tell Christians why they have to stop being so freaked out of basic words like aura. But bottom line is, we all know it. We've said it. Somebody walks in the room and they have an attitude, they affect the entire room. Somebody walks in and they're bubbly and full of joy, they affect the entire room. They don't even have to speak. So we all have an electromagnetic field that is the ripple of who we are and who we've been in our core, that is being stored in our biofield. In my video, I likened it to the cookies in a computer. They're tracks that have been laid out for you based on your past experiences of your personal life. Okay, not a past life, your past experiences. So those are like the cookies on a computer. I might be in the mood one day for black leather knee boots. And the cookies on a computer are never going to let me forget that at one point in my life, I was searching for that. Months later, it'll pop up and say, didn't you want this? That's kind of like what our biofield is. okay, is we've had traumas, we've had abuse, we were in a car accident. I mean, I was in a car accident with my sister years before I could ever drive. And for years, when I saw brake lights, I would do this. We have something stored in our past, good or bad, that when we're in that same moment, our body already says, oh, we know how to respond to that. That's what the biofield is. We all know that we have that. We all can say it's a trigger. We smell something. I smell coffee. It reminds me of my 7th grade home ec teacher. We know we all have that. So don't be freaked out by the fact that we have this energy field. That's what tuning forks do. Okay. So if you're tracking with me, give me a little thumbs up. If you want to know more, and I come this close to helping you understand what you need to know, leave me a comment. Let me know so that in the next video that I want to talk to you about. This is what some of the details are in my very simple terminology of what the biofield is, how far it stretches. There is evidence that our biofields can go 8 to 10 feet around us. Okay. And that's the amount of impact that we have when we walk into a room. So similar to the earth, we have this rim around us. Okay. It's this blue light that I put on here with the white and blue trim. That is the rim of our electromagnetic field, or what I would say is like the end. And here's what happens. You can see, let's start down at the bottom that says past and present, down by the knees. Within the biofield, going all the way out to the biofield and all the way closest to the body represents your past experiences from the youngest age. Closest to the body is the now age. Okay. So when I'm working on a client, let me let you see my face so that you get this. When I'm working on a client and they're laying on the table, the further I am from their body is their birth to now. Okay. So when I start tuning or sweeping next to the body, I start outward and move closer to the body. So this would be Teri, May 29th, 1972. I'm letting you all know I'm 50. This would be me at that beginning of my life and all that happens to right now. So as the technician, when I have that big gap, if I know that somebody's 50, I will start out. And if I get about halfway through their biofield, because let's face it, I'm in a room and I'm limited on how far I can actually go. So it's okay for you to shrink that and condense that like a zip file so that you know that you're working on the full length. If I come across this client and it's about halfway through and I say, did something happen when you were 25? Because things were good. And then, wow, the frequency got weird halfway through. Somebody might say, oh, yeah, my parent died. I got a divorce. I was in a terrible car accident. Usually there's something that's recorded based on age. So that is one tip or a couple of tips that I'm giving you so far on how you can kind of be a little bit more specific on what's happening to somebody in their life. Is you're measuring the time. You've already got a ballpark of how old they are. For me, I always like to round to the next number because I'm not going to be doing math. It's not about getting the specifics. You can say somewhere around this age. Okay. So now let's go back to this picture down by the knees, the present to the past. That's what that is. The past is all the way out to the outer ring. So right above that, I made a circle where you see frequency right over the edge of the biofield. If you're right at the beginning of somebody's biofield, that's gestational. That is when they're in the womb. That is right at the beginning of birth. Let me explain to you how again, Eileen confirmed a lot of this because I started doing it and I had no idea what I was experiencing. But with my husband, he was like a guinea pig for me. When I first started, in my mind, I knew I was starting all the way out. So I'm at his birth, but there was so much fear that I was sensing, and we'll talk about how I knew it was fear, but there was so much fear coming off of his body that I'm thinking, you were an infant. How is an infant that afraid? Well, I asked my husband, I said, tell me the story of your birth. I really didn't know. And I didn't know until that moment that he was that why he was an only child is because it was a pretty traumatic experience. His mom almost died. He was whisked out of the room, put in the NICU, and lights and loud noises. And it was so enlightening to hear him tell that story, because that's exactly what I was sensing in his history, in his story. And my husband is somebody that doesn't like loud lights or big lights, doesn't like loud rooms and noises. And he could be really set off by that. I think there's a lot of people that might be labeled a sickness because they're set off by certain things like that. Well, here, that was his experience into the world. Fast, furious, coding, bright lights. And so that got stuck, even in his infant self. That was stuck in his story. And not until we began to go around his body and work that out. So again, if you're coming way off the body, you could be starting at birth. Okay. So now let's go and look at how much further you can go from that. You will see above gestational, I have generational. As somebody who's done a lot of inner healing over the years and used a lot of different techniques to help people get set free from the past, there's absolutely no way to avoid the concept that sometimes what we're dealing with was passed on to us. Similarly, like brown hair, brown eyes, whatever is passed on to us, there could be tendencies that are lying dormant. I mean, that's a whole, I've come to understand a lot more about the power of our DNA and how much it doesn't really mean that we're going to turn into this person, but the potential is laying there. So maybe there's a history of anger in a family, a history of just emotionally erupting. Well, that gets passed on because that fear and that response, and then it becomes a learned behavior. And sometimes somebody is trying so hard to get rid of that issue in their life, and they have no idea it's because it's connected to generations before them. And so sometimes what you're able to do in a sound session and in inner healing is have them break that agreement, I would use, or maybe the understanding that that's how you have to deal with life. And so you can go into generational realms that are far beyond even the awareness of the person, how they got this way. Why are they like this? Like for my husband, we identified fear in the onset start of his life. If he would have had a perfect childbirth, then we would have maybe thought maybe the fear came from his mom. Maybe she was pregnant and shouldn't have been, or, I mean, there's all kinds of stories. And that fear was something that created in him as a result of what his mom was feeling. And so frequency has the power to reach that far back. So now the question is how? All right, so I've kind of laid out for you. And if this is the information that you're wanting, give me a comment and let me know. And I'll keep doing videos like this. I take for granted sometimes that I do this several times every day. So I assume that it's being transmitted to you guys and you're tracking me, but I understand that this might be new for you. All right. So that's the concept of our biofield, our energy field, and the things that happen to me get pushed out the furthest. Okay. And sometimes at birth, and then sometimes it's the crap that we got from our families. So now let's talk about, how did I know my husband was holding on to a fear or an anxiety? So there is body mapping that has been done. Eileen Mckusick is a huge foundational person in discovering where emotions get lodged in the body. She has been instrumental in bringing this revelation. As I've done some of my own work, I've tweaked some of those words and I have discovered some of my own things. And I do think that that's the amazing part of working together as a team, is that one person couldn't begin to comprehend all that God designed and all that he has done. So for me, my sheet might be coming a little bit more specific for me, but here's a general understanding. I chopped the arms off this guy because sometimes people get confused because the hands are out there. So imagine with me skeletally, okay, because I do a lot of work with the organs as well, but this we're talking about in the skeletal system. Going around the body, starting with the left shoulder. Hip area is an issue with surrender. The left hip becomes bitterness. The left knee is disappointment. Okay. In the feet, we hold, defense mechanisms. This is the part that was really getting some funky frequency from my husband that made me say, you know, why do you have so much fear at childbirth? And so then you can see them when you go completely around the body. This has become a tried and true understanding of where we all hold emotions in the body. You can do a little quick check for yourself. Yes, I'm not saying that somebody hasn't been in a car accident and doesn't have a legitimate natural reason why they have neck issues or lower back problems, but we all know that sickness travels to lands and settles in the weakest part of our body. We all learned that in 2020. If you got COVID and you had lung issues, it was going to be very, very difficult for you because it was a magnet for that area. That's what we're saying about emotional deposits that remain in the body. So if you have grief, and you have a left shoulder issues. I mean, I have clients that have had continual replacements and cuffs changed and they can't figure it out, but they lost a child and they never properly dealt with the grief. And so it just keeps settling in the shoulder. When you come across, when you're sweeping next to the body, now this is where you could identify and see based on your connection to the tuning fork. Mine is a little bit more of, it's about the feeling more than it is even about the hearing. I can feel a heaviness or like a beehive humming that's just different than what I was experiencing when I come across a certain body part. This is how we can say to a person, do you have grief that's not been resolved? Okay. And for a lot of people, it just instantly makes them cry and they think you're, giving them some kind of psychic reading, because that's how clear it is that we hold these issues in the body. That is an understanding, a very basic understanding of how using tuning forks coming alongside the body can help you identify where emotions might be lodged. I attached a video here of me doing my sister years ago. When you're watching that, the tuning fork frequency isn't real loud. The goal is I wanted you to see what I'm doing when I'm sweeping next to the body. The person is laying restful and peaceful, and I am sweeping alongside the body, identifying areas that emotions may be lodged in the body. That is the premise, and that's what it looks like. So let me show you that again. Don't try to hear and find disturbances because it's not set up for that. I just wanted you to see what it looks like. So that's the idea. I know as I say this, I wanted to keep this short and sweet. So I think there's probably no way that I won't follow up with a part 2 on this. Maybe some of you will want to know, how do you actually activate this? You hold it like a drumstick. You can't hold it like this because you'll silence the sound. You hold it real loosey-goosey. Okay. This is My grandkids are masters at this. They do, I mean, it's about the sound. It's not about a person. So don't disqualify yourself from this experience, but you hold it loosey so that you can get the tone that rings out. Okay. If I grab a hold of it, it stops. So the idea is, if you have a tuning fork and you're kind of like getting stuck in your mind and you're not sure what to do, find some friends. You're not going to hurt anybody. Find some people where you start to understand what the fork sounds like next to you and with you, and you can start to say, oh, this is normal. So now when you're coming up against somebody's body, and again, like I said, do it on a dog, do a friend, do something, and start to practice when you start to feel a disruption. When I started practicing, it was so clear to me. It sounded like static on a radio that I would say, wait, does somebody have a radio on? Because it was so clear. But you're just going to have to jump in. You're just going to have to start practicing with it. I am absolutely here with you. If you are new to my channel, like and subscribe. The bottom line is, I am a Christian who is trying to debunk all the fear that we have when it comes to quantum physics, science, the Bible, what God has to say. For those of you that have been tracking and you missed my father and Judy, I'm selling my house and we have lots of stuff going on. He's helping some other people during our time frame. So we're going to get back to that, but we're going to mix it up a little bit. And I'm going to do my best to shrink some of these videos, stop talking so much, and just get back to some of the basic things that you want to know about tuning forks. So thanks for joining me. Have an awesome, awesome day, and go practice on somebody. You could do it.